All right, and then if you guys don't mind muting yourselves until if you're speaking, but welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our first 2021 monthly meeting of the year. We are very excited to have our nonprofits with us, or some of them, to share some information on how we can be involved as a community and help them out and provide some resources for them in return as well. So we have an exciting event planned for you guys. We do have a little bit of an agenda, so we'll go through, we'll hear from our sponsor from United Way of Davie County and Sage Garden Care Center, Chuck Taylor. And then we'll go to some introductions of our nonprofits that we have on the call with us. And then we'll go into some breakout sessions to chit chat a little bit, because it's been a while since we've seen some of you guys. So thanks again for joining us, and I will turn it over to Chuck Taylor.
Great. I'm excited to be here, guys. Thank you so much for showing up today. And this exemplifies so much, I think, of who you are as individuals in the community, where you're looking to not only network with each other, you're looking for ways to connect and for ways to potentially invest back into the community and find ways to make it better. For those of us that work in the nonprofit world, we have the privilege of looking at all aspects of a community, from those who have plenty of resources and may even experience stress that comes from that, as well as individuals who are marginalized, disenfranchised, and on the outside of a community, and trying to figure out how do we pull resources, time, and people together to make sure that we have what we need to propel the county forward as a whole. So today, we're just going to take kind of a quick overview look at what are some of the things that agencies have been doing in an upside down year. So by those I can see, show of hand, how many's year got turned upside down in 2020? Right? And it's really funny, because I was telling the joke for about 3 years prior to 2020. Everybody asked me what I'm going to be doing in 3 years, in 2 years, in 1 year. And I said, I don't have 2020 vision. It turns out nobody had 2020 vision. Everything was shot for us. So we had to learn how to quickly adjust. For those of you that don't know, I'm the executive director for the United Way of Davie County, and I have been working with United Way for probably about 10 years in a volunteer capacity. And I came in July, and we hit the ground running, and we had to change all of our systems. Our website wasn't up to par, and we couldn't go into workplaces the way we traditionally had to seek out funds. So for those of you that don't know, with United Way, the main way that we raise money is we go into workplaces, businesses, and we ask that employees would give small donations. We pull all those small donations together, and we gather a large sum of money from all of the employers throughout the county. We combine that with our individual donations, and then we allocate funds back out to agencies for the programs that they're going to be using. Well, if you can't go into those businesses, then you have to readjust your systems. And so we had to build a brand new website to make sure that that was going to function well. We had to change our IT protocols altogether. And I had absolutely zero time for planning on how we're going to do that. You guys know what it means to change all of your processes quickly. So when I talked to Caitlin, what she said is, let's kind of tell you as business professionals, what does it mean to think creatively? What does it mean to share some ways you've done some stuff? And I think the other nonprofit leaders on here are going to tell you some ways that they've had to readjust well. We did a Giving Tuesday video. I encourage you to go look at that on our Facebook page. But we talked about the fact that needs have gone up tremendously in 2020. They're continuing to stay up in 2021. The problem is that resources have gone down. Guess what people are doing with their money right now? Holding on to it, right? Everybody is really concerned. What is going to happen in 2021? What's the future going to hold? And so you've got lots of needs that are going up, and people that are saying we need support and we need help. You have agencies that are ready to give that support, but most of them are pulling in from reserves that they've been saving for years and years and years, because this is the year that we were supposed to be saving those reserves for. When you can't have fundraisers because people can't get together, you can't go out there and solicit funds the way you traditionally did, this becomes problematic. So there's a few things that we are trying to do, specifically just to kind of give you an example of what that looks like. And I'll tell you, I think this is emblematic of how to do your work on a small business side as well. So for those of you that don't know, I also own my own business, Sage Garden Care Center. And so I had worked with Wendy Horn through the fall season of 2020 and said, hey, what can we do to really kind of get our message out there? How many of you guys have ever tried to get your message out on Facebook and you feel like you're putting out great content, but nobody's listening? Anybody else? Yeah, and that can be the difficult part. So I had Wendy put out a lot of content for us, and people were saying, man, you guys are really doing a lot. We appreciate what you're getting out there. And I went back to Wendy and I said, hey, listen, we need to do an audit of our content, of all the information that's going out there. What kind of things are getting us the best results and feed? So I want to share that with you today because Kaylin charged me with, I want you to walk out of the door with something that you can use right off the bat. So I encourage you, if you're using social media or whatever, to go in and do an audit of what you're getting feedback on. So here's some of the things that we found. For example, shares make a huge difference. And I challenged my board last night. We had a board of directors meeting last night. So for example, if we put up a post and it's just an organic post, we put something out on Facebook, we might have 26 views that hits it, right? Super small. I don't know who those 26 people are, but we got 26 views. But if one person would share that post, all of a sudden 26 becomes 50. If two people share the post, guess what happens? 50 becomes 100. And if three people shared this post, now all of a sudden 100 becomes 200. And it starts to grow exponentially. So getting people to share your message, targeting specific individuals to share your message is huge in the social media world. Whatever their algorithm is really big. The other thing that we found is, this is going to surprise everybody, but people like people. We get on social media because we like people. And so we found that we were putting out a lot of posts, but it was the one where we would put up pictures of individuals or we put up videos of individuals. And what we're finding is that targets curiosity for individuals who are looking for the stories. And so they would see, they'd see me standing with Tom Lentz. We use him as an example. Davey Electrical Supply was one of our Business 365 partners. And so we went out and we said, hey, let's make sure that they get some notoriety for the work that they're doing. So we put that up. Well, all the people who like Tom said, hey, what's Tom doing over there with Chuck? And so they looked at that post and shared it. And all of a sudden the numbers went up on that pretty high. So anytime that you can involve people in your marketing strategies, I think that makes a huge difference. I'm a big proponent of video, but I also know, because I've got 5 small kids at home and I've worked with teenagers for a long time, that your video content has got to be short and to the point, right? You've got a minute or maybe 2 minutes to be able to tell your story and anything that you want to share in a quick period of time. For those of you who may not be very experienced with movie generation, I'll tell you that one of the best things that you can do is get you a good program. I use iMovie. And if you're not familiar with it, have yourself some B-roll. So B-roll is the footage that you have that's not the person talking or the person speaking, but is other footage that you can have rolling in the background while someone's speaking. So you see this in commercials all the time. You have the person that's speaking, and then you've got a truck driving through the desert, right? And it just is showcasing or highlighting the things that are being talked about. It just keeps people's attention a little bit better. I can't always do that in the videos that I'm producing, but when I can, I try to make sure that that's a priority, because I think that makes a huge difference, just keeping people's attention, because people like movement and they like action. All right. So the other thing that we found was that there was graphics. I don't know about you guys, but we like to see pictures and text put into some sort of a graphic form. One of the things I'm working on right now, I don't have it ready yet, is our annual report, but I'll tell you an organization that does a phenomenal job with this. If you go to cancerservicesonline.org, so that is one of our partner agencies, Cancer Services, they have on their About Us page information about their annual report, and you can get a printout of that, and it's about half a page. So here's an example. I copied it. And if you look real closely, I won't show you all the details, but they have graphics about their numbers. They have a huge budget that they work with every year, but they tell their story in these graphics because that grabs people's attention right away. I know a lot of our other nonprofits do things that are similar to that, but if you're going to tell the story either from a business standpoint or especially as a nonprofit, I think that is huge just to be able to get the message out. But here's what it all translates into. Is how do we get individuals who are holding on to their money in the business world to part with some of those money, to part with some of that money to make a difference in the county? And I think that's the big message that you're going to hear from the other folks that are on Nonprofit Stories today is, if we're not getting those funds, then we can't utilize those resources. We can't connect people to those resources. So what is the benefit to you? One of the things that we put together before I arrived, but I think we've really driven it home, is helping our businesses. We have what's called a Business 365 program. And the Business 365 is simply one donation, $365, and yet we take that money and we spread that out to multiple agencies, some of the ones that you see on the phone call here today, like Dragonfly House and Just Hope and YMCA. Right. And so we're going to give some money to them, but you guys are participating in that money. What I know is that as a small business owner, you do not have millions of dollars sitting around that you're just dying to give away to other people. Right. You've got a small pot of funds that you're trying to figure out what to do with and how to make it work. And so we said, how about instead of just asking you for money, we partner with you to tell your story. And so the example I used of Tom Lentz, he makes a donation. We go out, we do social media, we put his logo up on our website. That gives backlinks to his website so that he's able to generate some traffic that Google likes whenever Google is looking for pages to put up at the top. So they're going to see Tom Lentz has Davie Electrical, and it's not just a standalone website. United Way of Davie County is saying Davie Electrical is doing something beneficial, and Google likes that ranking. So when people look for electrical services in Davie County, his is going to jump up higher to the top because you have those sort of things. So our goal is to partner with businesses to make sure you have the resources to get your message out. So you're not just donating money, but you're also being able to tell the story. How's that? Does that make sense? Is that effective for right now? Yes, nods of heads. Those are great for communicating yes and no. Okay, good. All right, so then I kind of want to reserve some of the time here because we're going to have some questions and we've got a lot of content that we're going to go through here, which is why to be involved and why to be connected. So let me do it like this. A lot of people don't know, but in 2007, I was hired to work with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I worked with them for about 1.5 years. And we try to tell the stories that we can in the county, but the reality is that sometimes a lot of stories simply are not heard because they're too hard to hear, or the people that they're telling the stories about are just so far off the radar that people don't notice them. In 2008, at the beginning part of the year, I got called out to go meet a young man at a house who was going to be matched up with somebody else. And when I got to the house, the steps going up to the house were broken, which to me, the difficulty is the only way for this child to get inside the house is to walk up broken steps. I got inside the house and there were holes in the floor. When I got to the kitchen area, 3 of the 4 eyes on the stove were non-functioning. And in the closet was just mounds and mounds and mounds of ramen noodles. And that was pretty much the only food source that they had to be able to eat with. There were other things that were going on in the house, but it was the first time that I had been hit with the poverty that exists right here at home in our counties. Now, the reality is that for a lot of people in the nonprofit world, they will go, yes, absolutely. We know that this exists. And for most of the people on the phone call today, you will say the same thing. We understand that this exists. What do we do and how we help? And here's the thing is, it's not going to happen because there is $1,000, $50,000, $100,000 by everybody being given. It's those small amounts that make a difference. And these people can make a huge impact with small donations given consistently. So with that, Caitlin, I tried to streamline that down to about 10 minutes to kind of leave some space for conversation, because I think that you've got some qualified individuals on here that have some more that they'd like to add. And there may be some questions that come out of this, or you may want to spear this into a bit of a different direction. So that's the end of my part. I'll open the floor to Caitlin, the direction you want to give it next.
Certainly, yes. Does anyone have anything that they want to add to that, like some effective strategies that could tie into what Chuck's referring to that have really worked for you, that you've utilized the past year or just starting this year? Anyone?
Well, I have helped several charitable organizations raise money, particularly through planned giving. Chuck is talking more about annual gifts and maybe major gifts, and those are very important, but I also work with planned giving. I'm a chartered advisor in philanthropy. And what that means is that I've focused part of my career on trying to help charitable organizations. Not all of them have been accepting of that, but some have, because Chuck knows more than anyone, or Chuck and the other charitable leaders understand that those annual gifts are very important. But if you have the planned gifts, Many that go through the Davie Community Foundation. I've spoken to the Clemens Community Foundation and Winston-Salem Community or Foundation. We know that the real money in the long run comes from those major gifts and inheritances, whether it's property, it's appreciated stock. But one of the areas that I talk about is using life insurance as leverage, because even the average person perhaps can invest in an insurance policy with small premiums and give literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's just another option that people have that, quite frankly, they don't always think about.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Al. There's a lot of times we even use that here at the United Way. I think the difficulty is that when needs feel so urgent, you're chasing those immediate annual gifts because you need something right away. But those long-term ones are great for sustainability and can make a huge impact. Thank you. I think it's a great. Any other thoughts?
Awesome. Well, if we don't have anything else, we will jump right into our nonprofit introductions. So if you guys, I encourage you to drop your contact information in the chat. Some of you have done that already in your introductions, but if you want to get in contact with any of these nonprofits following the call, we are recording this. It will be saved in that recording. You can go back and look through and get in contact with anyone. Definitely jot down some of the questions that you have for them as well, too, if anything pops up. That way you'll have something to chat extra about in the breakout rooms too. But we'll jump right into our first one, Miss Debbie Crutchfield with A Storehouse for Jesus. Do we still have her with us? I think so. Maybe. All right. Well, we'll come back to her. All right. So the next one we have is Brandy Reagan with the Dragonfly House.
That's me. Okay. All right. So I know we have a lot of other fellow nonprofits on here that we all work together and know each other. So I will keep mine brief. But my name is Brandy Reagan. I'm with the Dragonfly House Children's Advocacy Center, located here in Moxville. We provide services to boys and girls ages birth through 17 who've experienced any form of abuse or neglect. And that's, excuse me, physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, or have been witness to violence. Our agency serves both Davie and Davidson County because we are a judicial district service. Not all child advocacy centers are. Child advocacy centers across the country, there's about 800 across the country. So we are not something unique. We are not some random thing that was just created. There are a lot of us. We are nationally accredited, nationally governed, but we each operate independently so as to meet the needs of our own community. So as you can imagine, the Child Advocacy Center in Chicago would have a lot of different needs than the Child Advocacy Center here in Davie County. Because we serve a judicial district, we worked very closely with our district attorney's office and with the judges and everyone involved through the district, as well as do a lot of community education and outreach across both counties. And part of that is through a partnership we have with the Davidson-Davie Community College, which also serves both counties. So we are blessed to be able to serve both, but to also call Moxville our home. Our agency provides forensic interviews, child abuse medical exams, victim advocacy services, mental health services to children and their non-offending family members, community outreach and education, coordinated case review, anything related to a child's needs if they have experienced maltreatment. Now, not every case that comes through here is deemed child abuse. There are some cases that are questionable, so they come through for services and it's determined that it didn't happen, or it was determined that things could have gone along the path to happening, but someone spoke up in time to put services in place to stop those things. There could be some very questionable things happening within a home, but doesn't necessarily rise to the element of a criminal charge or a DSS substantiation. There are still some services that could be put into place for that. So when you see our numbers and the number of services that we provide to children and families, we absolutely acknowledge that not every case that comes through here is absolutely child abuse. But what we do is the cases that are deemed child abuse that we see credible, where charges are filed, where DSS stays involved and such, those are the services or the children and families that we continue working with long-term through everything that they need. So some specific things that have happened recently, mostly because of COVID and the pandemic. We operate as a essential service because our services are in collaboration with law enforcement and social services, who are deemed essential workers across the state. So the governor back in April actually made all child advocacy centers in the state an essential service so that we could be included in receiving PPE and other things that are necessary that they were distributing to other hospitals, law enforcement and such, other agencies. So we have been working nonstop since this began with adjusted schedules, of course, because even though we continue operating just like each of you, there are things we have to do. We personally have been affected. We've had staff members who've lost family due to COVID. We've taken extra precautions. We've had staff who've had to be in quarantine, who've had possible exposures, who've had to be tested and couldn't come back to work until they were cleared. So through all of that, we've had our own adjustments and challenges, but we have been very successful and very blessed that we have taken such good precautions that none of our staff and none of our families who've come through here have been affected because of our continuous staying open. So that includes a lot of the extra precautions delay our services. They take longer because we have to deep clean between every family that comes in. We have to do extra COVID screening. There's just, of course, all the steps that you take to make sure that you can maintain health and safety, but that, of course, is a priority. So we're adjusting to it. But it has taken its toll on our staff and the burdens that we bear, because we have seen a significant increase in child abuse reports. There have been several places across the country where they've talked about child abuse reports being down, numbers being down, people aren't reporting, but that is not the case here. I attribute that mostly to our wonderful superintendent for making the decision for kids to go back to school in some capacity, regardless of how each of us independently, not you, each of you in the community feel about COVID and its health impact. What we have determined is what's best for kids is for them to have eyes on them, best for them academically, but best for their physical and mental health. We have seen kids suffering tremendously, and I attribute a large part of the reports that are being made and our increase in services to the fact that while the pandemic has caused additional abuse and neglect, and I could give several examples of those, because every student is at least in school 2 days a week, there are additional eyes on the children who are able to report. Whereas other larger school systems like Forsyth or Guilford, who just until recently opened back up, they went a very long time without having any eyes on kids. And teachers and school staff are the #1 reporters across the country for child abuse and neglect. So I do attribute our significant rise in child abuse, not because schools are open, but we attribute the reports being made because children are in schools and they have a safe adult to tell, and they have an adult who sees them and sees the signs and symptoms of abuse and knows how to report. We do have an event coming up tonight. It's called, it's a town hall event, Community Conversation, where we are going to be bringing together law enforcement, social services, the health department, and others who are going to discuss child abuse and mental health in the pandemic, and how we have seen child abuse increase, and we have seen significant detrimental concerns for mental health of our kids and their caregivers. And it's going to have a very long-term impact. It's going to affect a generation without question. We know we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. So we need to start having a conversation now on what we are seeing, what the problems are, and how we as a community can address it, because no one was prepared for the pandemic. Obviously, none of us knew what to expect. And of course, neither were the agencies, just as our parents and children weren't. So we've got to talk together as a community on how we're going to address this and where we need help. This first phone call is tonight. It's at 6:30. It's a web call, town hall style. You can go to our website, thedragonflyhouse.com, or find us on Facebook, and you can see the link to register just to participate. Participating does not mean you have to talk and contribute. It means listen to what's going on and hear some of the concerns that we have, so that you can share those with others who may be able to contribute or help in the future. So I encourage you to at least be on that call to listen, participate. We do plan to have multiple calls in the future. We plan to involve the school system and other mental health providers after this first initial call. There's so much data and information to get out that this first call doesn't include people who are going to fix it. This first call is more of, let us show you and tell you everything that's been happening, because it's a very big deal. We've all been living in our own crisis. We've all been living in our own pandemic world. And what I think a lot of people have not realized is that child abuse and mental health problems have significantly increased. And we just need to have that discussion. So please join us on that call. And as far as ways to help, I think right now, honestly, that's the biggest way to be a part of the conversation. Of course, financial donations are always welcome. However, we know that's a very tight topic right now. Not a lot of people are talking about that, for the same reason that we personally aren't giving any. I personally am not letting go of money very quickly. And we also, while our fundraiser event last year was canceled because of COVID, we do not, as of right now, we do not have a rescheduled date for that. So we are losing money from fundraising, but at the same time, we think that the conversation around child abuse and mental health in our community is the most important thing we can be involved in. So if I say there is one single thing you can do to help us, it would be to be a part of this call and to really listen and take in the information that we're sharing and see how you as an individual, as an agency, as part of a church or part of a civic group can help be a part of the solution down the road as these problems get bigger and more significant as time goes on. So any questions for me about the work that we do or how you can help by being a part of that conversation?
So I want to object really quick, just so we can watch our time and make sure we have time for everybody. Make sure you hold your questions for the breakout sessions. We will definitely be doing those for a couple of minutes, so we can have some time for you guys to get in touch with people. And Brandy, if you don't mind, please put information for that call in the chat so we can have that as well too.
All right, I will do that. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk, and on to our next wonderful nonprofit.
Yes, thank you, Brandy. Debbie Crutchfield with the Storehouse for Jesus, if you are on here with us, we will turn it over to you.
Caitlin.
Yes, hey.
Hey, finally, I apologize for being late and no picture, but I'm using the Storehouse computer and I must not have a camera on there. But anyway, I'm Debbie Crutchfield, a very new director at a Storehouse for Jesus. It's only been about a year and a month since I've been here, but Marie Collins is still here as an advisor, which I'm very thankful for. But I do want to thank you for bearing with me on this. A Storehouse for Jesus, of course, is a ministry God-based. God is the head and he leads everybody here. We make no decisions before we pray to him. And it's a ministry where we're trying to meet the needs of the people in our Davie County community, but we also serve 7 surrounding counties. The majority of our clients are from Davie County. I can report that. We want to help those in need, and we also take time to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, before COVID, we could do that during our interviews, person-to-person client. Since COVID, it's mostly done in our drive-through food program. As we take the food to, we have a few volunteers and they'll share the gospel. This is happening because God's provided this for us and we can share for you, things like that. But things have drastically changed since COVID. We've had to modify our services. Basically, what we're doing now is we have the medical clinic, 1 day a week chronic care clinic. That is by appointments only. The clients will call and make an appointment. First Wednesday of every month, there is a women's clinic. The pharmacy has been open probably before any of the other clinics were open, Monday through Wednesday, because they knew that, medicines are a top priority. So that has been open, and our psychiatry part of the medical program has been open. They do 1 day a week. As far as the distribution ministry, we are focusing, our main priority is food. So we have this drive around food program, and clients register, they give their family size information, and we have a skeletal crew of volunteers here that will pull the food items that we have, and we give them to the clients according to their family size. We've been blessed. We are partners with Second Harvest Food Bank. They've been blessed. We've had food from them, but I'd also say that the support of Davie County is just been unbelievable to me. We have not run out of food to be able to give to clients. And we, like I say, we want to give everything that we've got. As far as the client base, it's dropped down drastically. When we started this in March, we only had 10 to 12 families come through. Then we reached a peak, and it kept increasing as far as numbers served. And December, of course, was a busy month, and we had a Christmas program still going on then too. But since Christmas, we've seen a drop in clients. I don't have any idea why. I can't even give you an idea on any given day how many people will be here, how many families we will serve. But we're here for them for that. The storehouse depends solely on donations and volunteers. So, of course, things like food, we need, not desperately, but we need food to continue to keep what we have, we give out. But I feel like because of God, we've had enough. When we're low on something, I just pray about it. And, we were out of cereal, and then a donor called and said, I got a truckload of cereal coming to you. So I really do see God at work on here. But because we depend on donations, we do have grant money that we can use to spend, and our volunteers, lost my train of thought on that. Because we depend on that, we need help from the community. One thing was kind of addressed already, thank you, Chuck, by how to get the word out, because we have a problem with that here at Storehouse, getting the word out. And we have started giving, we've always given food. We need donations of food, old medicines. If you could spread the word, if some people will bring medicines of people in their family that is not used anymore. And our pharmacy screens it and disposes of it if they can't give it. But we have that to give out. Financial donations always, and we've been blessed again by having that. We have given out coats and blankets since January. Other than that, we haven't given anything on the distribution side other than food. But we gave out just in January 200 coats and I think about 80 blankets. So I feel good. We're focusing on children's clothing, winter clothing. We're trying to address the greatest need that we feel. So we give out on basis of what we have to those upon request. but things are going pretty well here at Storehouse, and I just want to thank everybody again for letting me be here and share, and to just reach out and listen to everybody else. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. We appreciate it. Thank you for the work that you guys are doing. I understand that you do have some volunteer availability as well too. So if you don't mind adding that or those hours or a way for people to contact you to the chat, that way they can have that as well. So they can come and help you guys out.
Okay, we definitely need volunteers.
Thank you. Next we have Crystal Dumas with Just Hope Incorporated.
Hey everyone, I'm having some technical issues with the camera. I apologize for that. But I am the founder and director of Just Hope. At Just Hope, we have decided to eliminate the duplication of services in Davie County. And so we are focusing and making a priority our Women Lead program, which is our most popular program anyway. This program empowers, educates, and encourages women who have experienced a crisis or homelessness. Most are going through a divorce, survived domestic violence, or just need guidance and support of some sort. We help them with housing deposits to get into new housing. We allow them the use of our resource center, which has internet, computer, and printing access. We provide job referrals, budgeting, classes. We set up counseling for any trauma. They have the use of our laundry facility, and then we have ongoing case management services for them as well. All participants of that program, as well as members from the community who are in need, can shop at our thrift store on free vouchers. I'll keep this quick as I can. The update is very exciting to me. We have outgrown our location, and so we are moving to a location that's double the size. So we're very, very excited about that. We should be moving within the next 2 months. We're in the process of selling this building that we're in and move into a space with double the square footage. We are currently at 643 Wilkesboro Street, right beside Rescue House Church, and we will be moving to 814 South Main Street. It's the old upscale consignment building. It's a 2-story building beside Daniel's Furniture. We are deemed essential despite COVID's hit on our fundraising and ability to raise funds. And with the restrictions and the cancellations, but our thrift store has grown so much that we have to expand. We sell 20% of items that get donated to us, and we give away 80% to the community and our clients. We hope to offer even more resources for the community once we are moved and have more space. Chuck had mentioned the ways that you guys can help would be, one, to follow us on social media and share our pages and our posts. We also have a need for volunteers, obviously, to help us move. We have a 4,000 square feet building to move everything to our new building in the next couple of months. And then we also have the option to donate gently used items to our thrift store. Yes, they are available for sale for those who love to thrift shop and who need discount items, but of great quality. But we also give away to our clients and to anyone who comes through the door who needs something. We take everything except for the large model floor TVs because we don't have the floor space. So anything that you can think of a family who has experienced homelessness and is starting all over again, clothes, shoes, household items, furniture, anything and everything, we accept it. We just, if you wouldn't keep it for yourself or give it to one of your loved ones, just keep that in mind before you donate it. That's basically what's going on with Just Hope right now. We're excited about moving into a new space. So I put my email in the bottom if you're interested in volunteering or helping with that. You can just email me. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal. Next, we have Luke Harris with the Davie Family YMCA.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Luke with the YMCA here in Davie County. The YMCA, we focus on 3 main areas. That's youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. We value partners and feel that joining with other partners is the only way to provide the larger collective impact. So thank you for those that have spoken. I think we've partnered in some form or fashion and look forward to doing that in the future. I want to share briefly kind of what we've done, been able to do over the past 10 months. As you can imagine, it's been a little challenging, exhausting, confusing, et cetera, but despite it all, we've survived. And from an impact perspective, I think we've actually thrived during this time. We've been able to pivot our services to serve the community, our members, our participants, and even our staff. Just so you know, the Davie YMCA is part of a larger association, which is the YMCA of Northwest North Carolina. We have 15 branches and serve 7 counties. That has tremendous benefits in times like these. And that's how we've been able to survive. As you can imagine, most people think of us as a gym and swim. We're much more than that. In the past, we've been able to pay our staff, keep our buildings open, lights on, through membership dues. Through our donations, we were able to do financial assistance, programs free to the community, and things like that. Now, of course, if things have changed, we don't have that membership revenue coming in. We're about 40% of what we were pre-COVID. We don't know how fast that's going to come back. So partnerships and things are more important than ever. But through the last 10 months, these numbers are for our association, but Davie County was impacted in each one of these statistics. We were able to serve 144 youth on a weekly basis with emergency child care, starting in March through end of May. So as schools shut down without any notice, and shifted into a remote world, we were able to help out parents by providing a safe place for their children, for essential workers, and was right along with the school system trying to figure out how to teach all these different individual children with all these different programs. Much more streamlined now, but we were able to help in that regard. We shifted gears in June with our Summer Exploration Academy, where we served over 171 youth. And when you look at it from hours that we provided, it was 7,383 hours of engagement with our youth. We, again, as the school year started over, we were able to work with the school system to put together an e-learning program, our e-learning academy for our students, to help them as they transitioned from fully remote to partially remote, and now a kind of a combination of both. We were able to serve 67,000 meals to residents in the East Winston area. And some of the staff from the Davie Y was able to go and help do that. We shifted gears because of our fitness centers were closed, partnered with the Red Cross, where we did 29 blood drives across our 7 counties. Davie County, we did 3. We collected 971 pints of blood, saving 2,913 lives. We were able to work with some of our programs called the RISE program, which is a lot of refugees or people that are come to us to learn English. We help them be able to put together applications and use the skills that they've had in the past to get current jobs. A lot of those have sewing skills, and we put together a program where they created masks, and we gave those out to our members and people in the community that needed it. We designated a lot of staff time, because we're not open, to making wellness check calls to our seniors. We called over 5,000 seniors across our area just to check in on them so that they would have somebody to talk to, see if they needed anything. We shifted gears to start creating virtual classes so that people could still take classes with their favorite instructor. And now we have more than 200,000 views on our YouTube class page. And then we shifted gears in May as restrictions relaxed, that we could offer outdoor classes. And then we were able to open our buildings again in September. We were able to open our pool for swimming in May, This is a big one. So of course, due to shutdown, not being able to open, our part-time staff didn't have hours. As the pandemic continued to go on, there was some layoffs, but we were able to put together some funds and give back $53,000 to almost 300 staff that were affected by that. And we were able to continue to provide dental and health for our full-time employees throughout this pandemic. And all this without any COVID outbreaks, which I think is pretty awesome. So going forward, we're still a healthy Y, not a wealthy Y. Been stretched kind of like never before. Some ways that you guys can help are, of course, donations to our annual impact fund. If you know people that are looking for planned giving, the YMCA is a great place for that, as it was mentioned earlier. We are trying to grow our board of advisors and really want more representation to other organizations, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit, to help us just keep a pulse on the needs of the county and how we can help, how we can partner to fill those needs. So if you're interested in that or know anybody that are interested, please contact me. I can give you more details on what that looks like. We're still running youth sports program. Of course, it looks a lot different, but we still need volunteer coaches. With after school and remote learning, tutors are more important than ever. So if you have that skill set and would like to volunteer in that regard, would be great. And then if you cannot give yourself, or you'd like to give yourself and help us raise money, volunteer fundraisers are always great. Also, if you have ways that we can partner together to fill a need, please reach out. And then, as Chuck mentioned before, just following us on our social media pages, sharing things just to get the words out of what we're doing, so that we can kind of move along so people know what we're doing versus just a place to work out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. Luke did put his email in the chat if you guys are interested in helping them out, and volunteer hours or summer camps and stuff are coming back up down the pike with spring coming as well. So lots of exciting things to get involved in with the Y. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you.
Next, we have Danny Kartner, who is the board president for Family Promise of Davie County.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Good. I am Danny Kartner. I'm the board chair, the chair of the board of trustees for Family Promise of Davie County. We are an affiliate of the National Family Promise organization that was founded in 1986. Actually, those of you who are a little longer in tooth, such as myself, will remember that Family Promise was one of the 21 points of light recognized by President Bush and Barbara in 1992. Family Promise of Davie County officially started in 2017. Our mission is to help families who are experiencing homelessness and low-income families achieve sustainable independence through a community-based response. Our vision is to see a community in which every family has a home, a livelihood, and the chance to build a better future. For those of you who aren't familiar with our organization, we are a partnership primarily with churches, both in Davie County and one church actually in Forsyth County. We partner with the Muslim church in Clemens, and we house families. That's one of the big parts of our function, is to house families through a rotational basis. We move from church to church, week to week, and house families in those church buildings. Our families usually stay with us around between 60 and 90 days. We also, and during COVID, this has been a big focus for us. We serve a lot of families through prevention. We have different programs that allow us to fund some some back rent that's past due, some utilities that are past due, to provide some transportation funds, to even help with medical expenses, whatever a family needs that will keep them from experiencing homelessness. We provide some intervention between landlords and their renters to try to keep them where they are currently residing. We provide some intervention sometimes between family members to keep family members from moving out of homes. We recognize that probably as many as 40% of the families in our immediate area are one $400 crisis away from financial distress. So we try to do what we can to prevent that financial distress and prevent families from losing their place to live. I know we're going to quickly run out of time, so I won't use up quite all of the time that I was allotted, but we have served more than 200 children in the 3 years that we have been actively serving children in Davie County. And we're very blessed to think that we have made a difference in those 200 children's lives. Right now, COVID has, for us, like everyone else, changed the way that we do business. We have not been able to do the fundraising that we customarily have been able to do. Therefore, our budget has been hurt. We have not been able to house families in churches because churches have been closed, and our volunteers are uncomfortable coming in contact with total strangers day after day after day. So we have not been able to serve families in our rotational basis. We continue to get calls for help, but unfortunately, we haven't been able to shelter families. We're in the process right now of trying to do some static shelter at the former Methodist Church in Cooley. It's now known as the Bridge, and we're hoping to be able to house some families there on a temporary basis, beginning perhaps as early as the middle of next month. What do we need? What are our big needs right now? We have folks who want to donate furniture and large household items to us so that our families can use those when they move into their forever homes. However, we don't have storage space. So if anybody out there has some secure storage space that you would like to loan Family Promise of Davie County, we need that storage space. We also are continuing to feed families through the pandemic. We have maintained our contact with all the families who have graduated from our program. 90%, by the way, 90% of our families remain housed even after 3 years. So we hope that is a function in part of our counseling and our follow-up services to those families. We do follow every family for a minimum of 1 year after they graduate. And we are continuing to provide some meals. So if anyone out there would like to help us to provide some meals, even for those families who would be in our temporary shelter after we're able to get that back up and on its feet, we are in need of meals. We also are in need of cleaning and laundry supplies, toilet paper, paper towels, and we do accept checks. So if anyone would like to make a monetary donation, you can. We also, Al may have left us, but Al, we do have an endowment fund at the Davie Community Foundation. And even if you'd like to remember us in your last will and testament, well, that endowment fund is available for anybody to contribute to. I think that pretty much covers the gist of what Caitlin asked for in our presentation. So I'll turn it back over to you in the interest of time. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Danny. And Danny did put his contact information, his email in the chat for you guys if you're interested in reaching out to them. And last but not least, we have Miss Melanie Cook of the Farmington Community Event Center.
Hi, my name is Melanie Cook. I'm the Executive Director out at Farmington. We are actually having an exciting 2021 year. There was a school that was built in Farmington, the first public school in that area that housed first grade through 11th grade, that opened in 1921. And so we are celebrating in 2021 100 years of the school being on that property. When Davie High was built, things began to transition to elementary and middle schools. The school was no longer used, and some community members went to the school board and the superintendent at that time in 1971 and asked if they could have the building and the property of that old school building as it was deteriorating. And they said yes. And so since 1971, we have had a community center that has served not only the Farmington community, but Davie County as a whole. So 2021, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary of being a community center and reaching the people in Davie County. What we do out at the center is as diverse as the day is long. We have a variety of groups that we serve. There's bluegrass, country jam, line dancing that go on every single week pre-COVID. And they reach a lot of our older population with activities, things that they can do. And it is vital for their social well-being. They love getting together. COVID has thrown a kink into that. I think that I have started more conversations since March because of COVID, this is happening. And we still are not opened back up in that capacity. We have some of our seniors, of course, are especially susceptible to COVID. And so we have remained closed even during a period when we could have opened back up. Our board decided that we wanted to forego that to try to keep our people safe. We have some of our seniors who are very, very appreciative of that. We have another one like our sweet little Cleo, who is about 85 years old. And she called to ask me when we were opening back up because I quote her, "I've had COVID and it really wasn't that bad and I'm 85. So we kind of have this across the board response to that. But like I said, we just stayed closed to try to keep our people safe. Doing that has significantly cut into our income resources. I was actually furloughed for several months during 2020 and have been furloughed for January of 2021, but I'm currently volunteering just so we can get things open back up and try to do what we can do to save our center. We rely on grant funding, but mostly it is on the events that we're able to have. Our bluegrass, line dancing, those type of things. Somebody could come in, participate, eat a meal for less than $6. So we try to keep the cost nominal, but that has been able to, keep the utilities on, keep things paid, that type thing. And having to shut those down, especially some of our bigger events like our quarterly concerts, that has really hit us because of COVID, but we felt like that we had to do it to keep people safe. We also have a special needs group that meets, and that has looked different in 2021 as we've not wanted to, or 2020 and 21, as we haven't wanted to bring them in. We have different facilities at the community center. It's very broad. We have 3 buildings. In a normal year, we can rent those out for families to have events. We, of course, had to close those down during the shutdown. We have a children's playground that is handicap accessible. And we also have an outdoor walking track, which has seen a lot of use in this year. As people are trying to get outside and do more. Tennis courts, a baseball field, and then we have a 60-plus acre nature park that has gotten lots of use. Back in 2019, we were chosen for a grant that we had tried to apply for about 5 different cycles, and were never chosen, and we were finally chosen for that grant. That has added some additional trail. We have 2 miles now. We'll have 4 miles of nature trail. We have a pump track that is going in that will be in by the fall for people who mountain bike. There will be a 60-car parking lot that's going in additional with those grant monies. And then Davie Rec and Parks and our Ruritans are building an additional picnic shelter back at that nature park. one of the most exciting things that we did during 2020 that just opened in 2021 is a 20-hole disc golf course. I think we're the only public disc golf course in Davie County. It was put together with a professional team. The Disc Golf Professional Association is looking at that so we can do some tournament play there. We are partnering with Davie County High School. They are interested in putting together a disc golf club so that the high school students can use that. And then once we add our additional trail, cross-country team has been going across the road to Vulcan and using some of the trails over there. They'll be able to use ours as well. And then there was a recently started Davie Disc Golf Club that is some adults that want to play. Some of the events that we have going on February 14th, we are having a chili bowl, and that will be a disc golf event at 9 a.m. Then in April 30th through May 2nd, we'll have the North Carolina Cycling Rendezvous. This is our second one of those events. We ended up canceling the 2020 event and kind of doing a combo. The Cycling Rendezvous is the classic bikes, the old steel sort of antique vintage bikes. Well, when we did that in 2019, we had people fly in for that event. We had speakers. It's a 3-day, there's a bike ride component, there's a banquet, speakers, all sorts of things. And with that, our furthest families came in from California, flew into Davie County. So we are truly, with that event, putting heads in beds. We partner with the local hotels and a lot of the local restaurants, the vineyards, that type of thing. Tour of Farmington will be September 18th. Then we have a 5K in the fall of 2021. We also let Ruritans, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, 4-H, special needs groups. Davie County uses our facility. So there's lots of those type things. How you can help with us is we, for one, we need money as a nonprofit, and having to mostly shut down events that bring in money, that has cut into us. But the way that businesses can help, and then we can help you, is in sponsorship, primarily of the North Carolina Cycling Rendezvous and the Tour of Farmington. We were one of the only bike rides that decided to go ahead with an actual ride this year. And we had our biggest numbers of cyclists that came into Davie County for that. We were able to do everything outside with some social distancing and keeping everybody safe. And I think we had a little over 200 riders and not one instance of COVID in all of those that we heard of. The way that we can help you with that is in the advertising, especially for that Cycling Rendezvous. We do sponsorships, and you can get sponsorship information from me. And I'm going to put some details in the links with the dates and how to contact me. But with that sponsorship, your name goes on the t-shirt, and we advertise in a bunch of different ways for you. But the exciting thing about that is we'll have people, we keep the chamber books at that event, and we'll have visitors come in and bring that chamber book, and we want to go somewhere for lunch, or we want to see one of the vineyards. What would you suggest? We can hand them that book. And then we have a section on our website where we list your businesses, and we'll say you can go to that part of the website and get directions and be able to go there. So we're trying to have people help us, but then also help our businesses as well. We also need volunteers. We have rest stops during the bike ride where they can get a snack, use the restroom, that kind of thing. If your business wanted to set up and volunteer at the rest stop, you could put your signage out there, have your people there, and then they could come by and meet you in those few minutes when they're doing that. Have volunteer opportunities for different things, and then just help us spread the word of what is available as we begin to open back up. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. And Melanie does have her information in the chat for you guys as well, too. I do apologize that we've run out of time for the breakout sessions, but if anyone would like to linger around, if you had any questions for anyone specific on the call, please feel free to stay on. We'll keep it open for a few minutes longer since we went over a little bit, but I do want to respect everyone's time. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you were able to learn a little bit more about some of the resources that our nonprofits provide for us. And I do want to leave you guys with one last quote, and in regards to giving and philanthropy. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And that was spoken by Margaret Mead. So thank you again so much to our sponsor, Chuck Taylor of Sage Garden Care Center and the Davie County United Way, also the owner of the Sweet Place on Main. So thank you guys again for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to linger around. We'll leave it open for a couple more minutes, but I will unofficially end it for now.